Are you guys ready for a bit of a late night review? Because I sure am after what I've saw from these 8 games that happened on Sunday, and especially the 2 rivalry games that just finished a couple of seconds ago. But we begin the first game talking about a historical event happened in this game between DC United Bus Company versus NYCFC. And you notice I put DC United Bus Company and that I changed their name a little bit because yeah, they were DC United Bus Company for a reason, because from the beginning of this game till the very end of this game, they basically just parked the bus. I mean, NYCFC, early on they had all the possession. I think in the 15-minute mark, they actually showed the possession stats of showing that NYCFC had 80% possession compared to 20% possession that DC United has. And, although I kind of expect the fact that NYCFC was going to get all the possession, I didn't think this was a beginning of what would turns out to be Operation Park the Bus for DC United up to that point. Now, in the 25th minute, Keaton Parks probably should have made it 1-0 when he had a 6-yard sitter to basically put it away, but unfortunately he puts that one wide. Then, less than a minute later, it was Jesus Medina's turn to miss a sitter. Although this one, I wouldn't say that this was as bad of a miss as the one that Keaton Parks made, because the one that Parks missed where he basically just hit one wide after he had an empty net to shoot. This one, at least Medina did had a little bit of pressure from one of the DC United defender, but unfortunately he couldn't put that one away. Then Saints would rob Aber, where, I thought Aber, after he scored his first goal in the last game against New England, maybe that his curse of not being able to score goals in that goal drought that he's been is gone. Yeah, that it doesn't seem like it is the case, and that goal scoring curse that he seems to have continues into this game. Then in the 43rd minute, there was a controversial moment where there was no penalty given to NYCFC after there was a potential handball in the box, and I actually forgot who exactly was the DC player that handballed this one, but this one, it's tough. And I think from now on, in terms of handball, whenever it's kind of like in that gray area where the defender may be sliding in and he's not really raising his arms and it accidentally hit his arms like that, I'm just going to say that's not a penalty, because of the way that I've seen times where that's been called a penalty, and then I've seen time like this that is not being called a penalty, and that I guess for DC United, this is just one of those times where VAR decided that, this is just one of the time when we decided that we are not going to call that a penalty, because we are just very inconsistent in terms of making these calls. Now, in the second half, Revevieng cleared a shot that Aber have off the line. Aber, of course, as I said earlier, he seems like he is just completely cursed, and this was another moment that he, if he wasn't cursed, he probably would have put this one into the back of the net. Then Mackay Steven had a chance to score a goal. Well, actually, he did score a goal here, and it looked like NYCFC were up 1-0 up to that point, but it was disallowed because prior to that play, when Castellanos feed the ball to Mackay Stevens, they said Castellanos handballed this one. Now, I know a lot of NYCFC fans are going to be angry about this call because it looked like the ball was off of the shoulder cap of Castellanos, and that a lot of NYCFC fans are also going to point out the Revevieng handball earlier in this game and said that probably should if that, of course, was not called a handball, then this probably shouldn't have called a handball, and that, again, just there was no consistency in terms of the referee decision in this game. But either way, despite the fact that I thought the referee at times, they definitely did not have that consistency, and there was definitely some calls that I think they got wrong in this game, it still doesn't excuse the fact that NYCFC, despite having so many chances in this game, 19 shots in total, 5 shots on goal, 10 shots off target, and 4 shots that was blocked, and had 70% possession in this game, they still couldn't put the ball into the back of the net. And you know how I said this game was a historical game for DC United Bus Company? Well, the reason why that is the case is, yes, you're not misreading this. This is actually correct. They had 0 shot in the entire 90 minutes of this game, 0 shots on goal, 0 shots off target and 0 shots that was blocked, and they actually become the second team in MLS history to register 0 shot in the entire game, but become the first team ever to register 0 shot in this game and still able to earn a 0-0 result out of this. And that must, I'm not sure if that is kind of a good history book that DC United Bus Company might have just got in this game, or that DC United fans are going to be very happy in this. In fact, I think coming out of this game, nobody is happy with this result, because I know DC United fans are now even more fed up the fact that they are just playing not only just the most boring brand of soccer you can imagine, but did they even show up in this game with the way that they just kind of parked the bus throughout the game, and that I'm pretty sure that those Ben Olsen out kind of drumming is going to be louder and louder after this game. Whereas for NYCFC, you basically did a good job in terms of shutting down DC United in terms of the attack, but the fact that you couldn't able to register a goal despite the fact that you held a team to 0 shot in the entire 90 minutes, that's also kind of an embarrassing stats too. So I think coming out of this game, nobody is going to be happy with this one. I mean, not even the neutral, I think, is going to be happy with this one, because not only we didn't see a goal in this game, but it wasn't really like the most exciting games that we've seen, even though there were times that NYCFC were the one that was just kind of controlling the game, but they just missed so many big chances that they should have clearly put away, and clearly should have walked away out of this game with all 3 points. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is the other New York team. And the other New York team didn't have any luck in terms of getting anything out of this game. In fact, the other New York team didn't even get a point out of this game, as they suffer a 3-0 loss against the Union. And it was actually just yesterday that the Redbulls announced that Bradley Canal is going to be the interim head coach, as this will be his first game in charge of this club. And I thought, with them getting a new interim head coach, and usually when you see teams that when they just fire a head coach and that the interim head coach comes in, you would think that the team would be a little bit more up for it, and that they want to show this interim head coach that they deserve to be in the starting 11. Yeah, this was not the case for the Redbulls, because coming out of the gate, 13 minutes into this one, the Union had a chance to get the opening goal with Shabilko, who had the first real chance of the game, but unfortunately just puts it high off the mark. Then Royer probably should have scored the first goal from 2 yards out, and I think this, alongside with another miss that they had in the latter part of this game, just kind of summarize the Redbulls this season on attack. Eventually, the Union did get the opening goal. It was Brandon Aronson who scored an absolute golazo from Bedoya to give the Union a 1-0 lead. Definitely should have also put goal of the week with a question mark, because the way that he basically hits that one from about 25 yards out, absolutely amazing goal. And those are kind of the moment that a lot of scouts from Europe is going to definitely keep an eye on, and kind of getting excited that this might be the guy that they could be used in our team once he decided to go to Europe and join a team in Europe. Now, in the second half, and in the hour mark, Barlow had a chance to give the equalizer for the Redbulls, but unfortunately he hit an 8-yard shot just wide, which, again, that just sums up the Redbulls in terms of the attack this season. Then Shabilko would make it 2-0 in favor of the Union from Wooten and Bedoya, before it was 3-0 in favor of the Union when Real scores from Elzinho to make it 3-0 in favor of Philly. And that was the final score of this game, as the Union had 9 shots compared to 7 that the Redbulls had, 5 shots on goal compared to no shots on goal for the Redbulls in this game. So Andre Blake had a relatively quiet night in this one, and that in some way, even though there were times that he had to deal with some dangerous chances that the Redbulls were putting in front of him, they basically just not even put a shot on target in order for Andre Blake to be really challenged in this game. 6 shots off target compared to 2 that the Union has. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 2 that the Union has. And possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that Philly has. And really for the Redbulls, this is just the growing pain of being in a transitional year. And that, unfortunately, Redbulls fans, you're going to have to get used to this, because unless if they are going to really get rid of some of the dead weight that is going on in this team and bring in some actual talent and potentially getting a head coach that can really turn this team around, this is just going to get a little bit worse for this team. And that, you know, it's gonna be tough to be going through this transitional year that the Redbulls are in, but it is what it is. And, you know, for the Union, good bounce back win in this game against the Red Bull, getting all 3 points and also getting 3 goals in this one. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Chicago Fire and the New England Revolution. And talking about bounce back, New England were able to get a bounce back win after they won 2-1 against the Chicago Fire. And they scored just 3 minutes into this game when Teal Bunbury scored from McNamara to give the Revs a 1-0 lead, before Turner actually robbed Ilya Collier on the header and a chance for the Fire to immediately respond just 8 minutes into this game. Eventually they did get the equalizer in the 22nd minute when Fabian Herbert just seems like he loved to score at home, as he scored here from Navarro to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Then there was a penalty shout for the Fire when Aliseda was yanked down in the box, but there was no penalty that was given during that point, before Madron had a decent chance right on the stroke of halftime, as he was able to put a curler from 25 yards out that just wide of the mark. And we head to halftime at 1-1 and all to play for heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, Turner prevented an own goal on Brendan Bye, and, you know, this was an incredible save, the way that, you know, he was able to use some cat-like reflexes to pretty much push this one away and prevent Brendan Bye, unfortunately, score in his own net. Then, just 1 minute later, Bunbury basically scored what kind of is like a cross-shot kind of effort that somehow hits it into the back of the net. I mean, I know Bunbury will say at the end of the day, if he's asked that whether or not did he mean that one, he'll probably say that, no, I don't even mean that. I actually basically, they were always aiming for that top left corner in terms of the shot. But when you look at it on the replay, yeah, that was clearly a cross, and that he kind of overhits it a little bit. But sometimes this happens. I mean, when you overhit a cross, sometimes it just finds that perfect moment in the top left side of the post and just completely caught the goalkeeper. And this time he was able to do that, just completely caught Shuttleworth off guard there and puts it into the back of it to give the Revs a 2-1 lead up to that point. Now, in the 63rd minute, Chicago had a chance to equalize as Madron had another good effort from long range, this time on the free kick, but it was Turner that was able to tip this one over. And as the game was coming to a close, I thought Chicago were really going to push New England in this game and were desperate to look for the equalizer, but instead it was New England, the one that looked like the more dangerous side in the last 10 minutes as they were looking to put this one on ice. They almost did in the 91st minute when Shuttleworth was able to deny Butner there to keep his team in this game for the moment, but ultimately his team weren't able to get that late goal to get an equalizer in this game, as the New England Revolution, again, good bounce back win in this one against the Chicago Fire and a good road win in this one. As the shots in this game, 17 shots compared to 9 that the Revs had, 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Revs had, 8 shots off target compared to 3 that the Revs had. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession that the New England Revolution had in this game. But moving on, in terms of the last match on this board, before I switch boards to look at the last 4 games, is the Hell is Real derby. And I just had a feeling when I was watching this game that if Columbus was going to get 1 goal in this against this very stingy FC Cincinnati defense, that the floodgates is going to really open up. And in the first half, as I said, FC Cincinnati, they were putting on a very stingy defense on the Columbus Crew, but I really thought the first 10 minutes they definitely had some chance chances on the attack, and they definitely had some promising attack that they were just a little bit better with their final ball or a little bit better on the final third. They probably would have took a surprising 1-0 lead heading into this game against the Columbus Crew. Then in the 13th minute, for the second time in this Hell is Real derby, we had a controversial handball that was not given a penalty. This time it was Ricketton that looked like he handballed that one, and this handball actually happened right around the same time when there was a handball in actually, yeah, there was a handball in, which game was it? Oh, this one. It was a handball in this game between DC United and NYCFC, and they of course were looking to try to check that, but fortunately they said that there was no handball, and the penalty of course was not given. But again, for the remaining of the first half, there was not much chances for both teams to shout for, and that this was kind of classic FC Cincinnati play, where they basically tried their best to kind of limit the chances their opposition would have, and somehow in some way maybe go on the counterattack or look for set piece opportunity to potentially grab a surprising 1-0 lead in this game. But in the second half, you can clearly see Columbus was not having any of that stingy defense that FC Cincinnati has, because they finally broke through in the 52nd minute, and it was Pedro Santos that scored from Luis Diaz. And again, as soon as I saw that Columbus was able to get that opening goal against FC Cincinnati, something tells me they're going to probably get that second goal, and the floodgates is going to open. And indeed, it did. 12 minutes later, Jerzy Zardes scored from Pedro Santos to give them a 2-0 lead before Zardes would score another one just 7 minutes later, and that was pretty much game, set, and match up to that point, as not only the fact that Cincinnati looked down and out in this game, but I just have a feeling that Cincinnati is just not coming back in this one, and that ends up to be the final score of this game too, as it finished 3-0 in favor of the Columbus Crew. And the shots in this game, 18 shots compared to 7 that FC Cincinnati had, 6 shots on goal compared to none that FC Cincinnati has, 6 shots off target compared to 4 that FC Cincinnati has, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that FC Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that FC Cincinnati has. And, once again, Columbus was able to dominate their in-state rival. And for FC Cincinnati, yeah, I mean, this is just a game where it is pretty clear that if you are playing against FC Cincinnati, and that if you are able to break through their defense and able to score a goal against their defense, yeah, they're going to really fall apart. And this is going to be something that I think Jaap Stam's got to fix with this team, because as much as I know for the past couple of games they have been doing a great job locking down in terms of the defensive end, it's just that if they just give up one goal, that defense just completely lost that belief that they can of course just hold the opposition to a 1-0 lead, and somehow their attack can get going. But it just doesn't seem like it's the case for the last couple of games. As soon as they just concede that first goal, their defense just completely capitulate after that. But that being said, I am now going to switch the boards and look at the last 4 games, including the Cascadia Derby and El Tráfico that happened tonight. But yeah, moving on in terms of the next match is Minnesota. Boy, oh boy, did we need this win against RSL. Now, you could argue that coming into this game, it was clear that Freddy Juarez was trying to put a B team coming into this game after a short week against Seattle in the last one, and that he was hoping by putting a B team in this game, he might be able to get away with a point in this game coming out of Allianz Field, and it turns out that was not the case. And that really, for the first time ever since that MLS is back tournament game against the Quakes in the quarterfinal, the Loons attack finally broke through. And it's especially broke through in the second half, where it finally ends just such a frustrating kind of attack that I've seen with this Minnesota team for the past couple of games. Now, in the first half, and the first thing I want to mention, besides the fact that RSL basically made a line change coming into this game, is that Dane Sinclair actually gets his first start in goal for Minnesota and his first career MLS start. And I thought early in this game, you can clearly see that he was very nervous and that he almost made a howler in the 12th minute on Giuseppe Rossi's shot. That was an absolute rocket from about 27 yards out. And I guess he was trying to maybe catch that shot, but instead that ball kind of popped up into the air. And that I thought that one was probably going to end up into the back of the net. But fortunately, Sinclair was able to just catch it in time before that one crossed the line to potentially give RSL a 1-0 lead. And I'll tell you what, if that one actually crossed over the line, not only the fact that my confidence of the fact that the Loons are going to get 3 points just diminish, but that confidence level for Dane Sinclair has to just take an absolute gut punch with the way that he concedes such a soft goal like that. Now, in the 17th minute, there was a huge concern for the Loons when Ozzy Alonso was subbed off with an injury, and that Hassani Dotson basically replaced him. And the reason why I said that it's a huge concern is that Alonso is clearly one of the heart and soul of this team, and probably right now the heart and soul of this team, knowing the fact that we don't have Iko Para, at least for the foreseeable future. And seeing him coming off of an injury like that, I really hope it's not very serious, because we clearly need him to be in this team to actually do well. Now, in the 25th minute, it looked like RSL once again took a 1-0 lead when Onuha was able to head that one away from a free kick, but they go to VAR to check whether or not if Onuha was in an offside position when the free kick was delivered, and he was, but barely was in an offside position, and that I really thought the Loons got away with one in terms of just some really sloppy defensive mistake on the set piece, allowing Onuha to just completely walk naked in the back post to head it in, and the game remains at 0-0 at that point. Now, Molino had probably the best chance in the first half for Minnesota, but unfortunately he hits just wide, and that really, the attack in the first half just is kind of what Minnesota has looked like for the past couple of games, where the attack just cannot get going up front, and that I was really worried we're going to be in for another game where Minnesota just do nothing going for on the attack, and this is going to be a very frustrating 0-0 draw for them. But in the second half, as I said before, they finally broke through, and they broke through in the 53rd minute when Chase Gasper scored his first ever MLS goal from Kevin Molino to give them a 1-0 lead. Shocking RSL defensive mistake, leading Gasper just with acres of space to be able to get to the ball and go one-on-one with McMath, and coolly slots it into the back of the net to finally break a little bit of a goal drought that Minnesota has been dealing with in these last two games. Then McMath would rob Molino a chance for the Loons to give a 2-0 lead before it was 2-0 in favor of Minnesota, when Robin Lehrer were able to score from Reynoso, and it's great to see Reynoso on the helper sheet, and that really this was a game where the way that Reynoso played in this game clearly shows that he has a really high potential to be one of the most important player on our team, and the way that he played tonight just worth every single penny that Minnesota was able to pay to be able to get him. And Robin Lehrer, I thought tonight he proved a lot of doubters wrong, and I know a lot of Loons fans have been saying that Lehrer clearly does not deserve to be in the starting 11 because he always tends to just kind of ruin the attack. But in this game, I thought he was exceptional, and that he was able to score a couple of goals to really prove some of those people that believe he shouldn't be in the starting 11 wrong with the way that he played in this game. Now, in the 67th minute, RSL had a big chance to get one back, but Jan Grigwish with some heroic defending to clear the ball off the line after, once again, Onuha had a chance to basically headed that one away. Then Jacori Hayes would make it 3-0 in favor of Minnesota when he scored from Edwards and Molino. And as soon as Hayes scored that goal, I breathed a huge sigh of relief. Because even though I know when we were up 2-0 in this game, knowing how RSL has looked in these past couple of games and how they have just always showed that resiliency to come back, I wasn't so sure that we were going to walk out of this game with all 3 points when we were up at 2-0. But knowing when we were up 3-0 at that point, there was definitely a lot of sigh of relief knowing that most likely the Loons are not going to blow a 3-0 lead. But Corey Bear did look like he was able to get one back for RSL and looked like was going to try to ignite another miraculous comeback for RSL, but unfortunately it was disallowed because there was an offside on the attacking sequence of this play. And then in the 90th minute, Robin Lur would score his second goal and put the cherry on the top of a great performance by Minnesota when he scored for Hassani Dotson to make it 4-0. And that was the final score of this game, as Minnesota had 13 shots compared to 8 that RSL had, 6 shots on goal compared to 4 that RSL had, 6 shots off target compared to 2 that RSL had, 1 shot that was blocked compared to 2 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that RSL has. And I really hope, with the way that how the Loons attack looked in the second half, is that is just going to be a sign to come for these next couple of games, because hopefully the explosive kind of attack we show in the second half is a sign that we have finally end the drought that we kind of had ever since the MLS's back tournament is over and us getting back into phase 1 of this restart. And we got another good chance to potentially get a win in the next game at home against FC Dallas. Well, for RSL, it's kind of a disappointing result, but at the same time, as I said, this was a B team that Freddy Corres was putting in, and that, again, he was trying to maybe sneak out of a point against a very low confident Minnesota team, but it turns out it did not work in this one, and Minnesota was ready to punish his mistake of just putting a relatively weak team heading into this game. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is a 0-0 draw between Miami and Nashville. Now, this not only was one of those 0-0 draw where it wasn't because of lack of chances, but I really thought this was a game where I have no idea how this game ended 0-0. And there was definitely some shocking miss in this game that I just have a feeling that it's actually harder to miss those shots than actually scoring it in the first place. Now, before this game was eventually kicked off at around 9:45 p.m. local time, this game was delayed almost 2 hours because of lightning. But when it finally got going, Pizarro had a huge chances to potentially give Miami the opening goal from 8 yards out, but unfortunately he hits it wide of the mark. And then just 14 minutes later, it was almost a carbon copy again. Had a big chance around the 12-yard box to basically slots that one away, but once again just puts it wide of the mark and not even put it on target. And when you are a guy that is basically pretty much the goal scorer of this Miami team, and you're earning DP amount of money, those are the chances you got to put away, and that Miami clearly should be at least 1-0 up in this game 20 minutes into this one. Now, in the 23rd minute, Robles would rob Baji, and then after Robles made a good save on Baji, there was just a mad scramble near the line, and somehow, in some way, Miami was able to clear that one off the line. And I thought, both Robles and Willis, they definitely had a great night tonight, and they kind of contribute in terms of the way that this game would eventually end at 0-0. But I will also mention a little bit later that there were also some shocking misses that also contributed why this one ended 0-0. Nashville, I thought they were looking very dangerous on the set piece, and that I thought at time Miami had some difficulty in terms of defending set piece against Nashville. But as we head to the second half, Miami definitely looked like they were the better team coming out of the gate, and Joe Willis had to rob Robbie Robinson as he was going one-on-one with the goalkeeper. As much as that was a great save from Willis, that is definitely one that I feel like Robinson should put away with the way that he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And, I will kind of maybe give him a pass because of the fact that he's still a very young kind of striker that is just kind of learning the ropes right now. But that's just kind of one of those moments that he's got to learn that when you're in that situation, you have to keep your composure and slot that one behind the goalkeeper there. Then in the 73rd minute, it was Robles' turn to make an incredible save to deny Zimmerman on the back post. And this is where we get to the most shocking miss of the night. Now, I know the Pizarro miss early in this game was absolutely shocking, but I think this is probably the most shocking miss I've seen in this game, and maybe the most shocking miss I've seen all season, because this was not only a poor giveaway from Leandro Gonzalo Perez, but he basically gave the ball away in the worst spot possible, right as you're the last man there to give the ball away to Daniel Lovitz, and Lovitz basically had acre space to basically put this one into the back of the net, and yet somehow, in some way, he puts it wide. I mean, I have no idea how in the world he did not capitalize on that chance. I mean, at the bare minimum, at least put it on target and make Robles to make an incredible save to deny it and kind of give LGP a little bit of a free pass because of that poor giveaway. But the fact that you don't even put it on target just makes it even more shocking. And I thought after that kind of shocking miss from Daniel Lovitz, I just feel like this was going to end 0-0. And that I just have a feeling it's just not going to happen for either of these teams, and we're not going to see the ball hit back of the net with the way that both of these teams just cannot finish. And it would be the case for the rest of the game, but there were once again a couple more chances. First, in the 83rd minute, Robinson had a chance to basically hit one that unfortunately was just an inch wide. Before, right on the first minute of stoppage time, Robles was able to deny Honorable Godoy, who looked like he was trying to play hero again for the second time in this meeting. And that this was kind of also interesting with the way that prior to Godoy striking this one, Robles actually punched this one out, and he punched it right to Godoy that was trying to maybe shoot this one and caught Robles off his line. But as Robles was scrambling to get back to his line, that ball literally hit right toward him, and somehow was able to make a save as he was trying to get back to his line. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of interesting, but I also feel like that pretty much just sums up this game with the way that as much as we saw so many chances for either of these teams to score a goal, it just wasn't meant to be, and that it's just one of these games that both teams just didn't have their shooting boot in coming into this one. And the shots in this game, 13 shots compared to 16 that Nashville has, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that Nashville has, 6 shots off target compared to 9 that Nashville has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Nashville has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession. And, you know, tomorrow, I have a feeling on both of these teams are not only going to get nightmares about the fact that they could have got all 3 points in this game, but there's going to be a lot of what-ifs in this game, and that what if we just took our chances, or to at least take one of our golden opportunity in this game, we could have got all 3 points out of this game instead of sharing the spoil. But moving on, in terms of the next match, and these last 2 big rivalry game around MLS. First of all, let's talk about the Cascadia Derby, where it seemed like the trend continues, where the road team seems to be the king of the Cascadia Derby, as this time the Timbers were able to win 2-1 against Seattle, and I think this is now the 6th straight time a road team has able to win a Cascadia Derby in the regular season. And 3 minutes into the game, there was definitely a big hold your breath moment for a lot of Timbers fans, as Blanco actually went down what looks like it was a knee injury, and that he had to, of course, subbed out in that instant. And then at halftime, you can clearly see that he was on clutches, and that definitely does not look good. The fact that Blanco has to be on clutches, and you just hope that if you're a Timbers fan, that injury is not very serious, because Blanco is probably one of the more important players that you just cannot avoid to miss for the rest of the season. Now, despite the fact that Blanco, of course, suffered for that injury, it didn't really cripple the Portland Timbers. In fact, they just got back on their feet, and just 6 minutes later, they would score the opening goal, and it's Williamson that was able to score from Valeri. This was just an absolute beautiful goal to watch, with the way that Valeri just played a classic 1-2 ball right to Williamson, who puts it into the back of the net to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. But despite that beautiful play, after that, yeah, things kind of got a little bit stale in this Cascadia Derby, and that neither of these teams really decided to to be very good on the final third. Clark did have to deny Ladero, who looked like he was trying to do a Teal Bunbury kind of goal with kind of a overhead cross that this time Clark was able to deal with and save this one away. Before, in the 41st minute, Calvin Leardon would score an absolute stunner of a goal from about 25 yards out. That's definitely a nomination for goal of the week. And that goal also ties the game up for the Sounders as we head to halftime at 1-1 in this Cascadia derby. Now, in the second half, Fry had to rob Nisgoda and Abobasi on the very next sequence. And I thought the Timber were really coming out of the second half as the stronger team. But then in the 81st minute, Miguel Ibarra had a big chance in the back post to basically give the Sounders the lead for the first time, but unfortunately he wasn't able to take advantage of it, and that would turns out to come back to haunt the Seattle Sounders and Miguel Ibarra, because 2 minutes later, Felipe Mora scored from Williamson to give the Timbers a 2-1 lead, and they ultimately would hold on in this game despite the fact that Seattle was really threatening late in this game to try to get an equalizer. The Timbers were able to hold strong, and this time there's no late goals that they of course would concede, as we have seen before with this team ever since they came back from the MLS's back tournament. Now the shots in this game, 15 shots compared to 8 that the Timbers had, 3 shots on goal compared to 5 that the Timbers had, 8 shots off target compared to 2 that the Timbers had, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Timbers had, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that the Timbers had. And as much as I know this is a game that I think the Timbers not only is very happy that they were able to win, and that this is usually a game where whenever the winner coming out of this Cascadia derby, they tend to always have that momentum in the next couple of games. A lot of Timbers fans are going to really hope that Blanco injury isn't really a long-term injury, and that he, of course, will be back in this team before the end of the season. While for the Seattle Sounders, yeah, this was a frustrating home loss, and that again, what if Ibarra was able to put that one into the back of the net? That would have been a 2-1 lead for the Sounders, and I think if that would have happened, the Sounders probably would have won this one, and that it would be the Timbers, the one that would just for the last 7 minutes trying to get that equalizer, and that the Sounders are able to hang on to that one if that was going to be the case. But now, moving on into the last game of this weekend's action, which is El Tráfico between the Galaxy and LAFC, and once again, the Galaxy is able to win El Tráfico as they won 3-0 against LAFC, and we saw something happen for the first time in this El Tráfico in the second half, and that, I think if you watch the first 50 minutes of this El Tráfico, you wouldn't think that this game was going to end up to be a 3-0 win for the LA Galaxy, because 5 minutes into this game, Brian Rodriguez actually went one-on-one with Bingham, and I have no idea why Rodriguez decided not to shoot earlier and allow Bingham a chance to come off his lines to smother it. Then BWP also went through on goal, but this time, unfortunately, he wasn't able to put that one away as it was just wide of the mark. Then Bingham basically denied Fuentes in the 13th minute, as it was pretty much all LAFC for the first 25 minutes, and they were really putting a shooting gallery in front of Bingham's net, and that I had a feeling eventually the first goal was probably going to happen for LAFC, and that this Galaxy team, despite the fact that they were once again tried to do their same tactics as they did in the last El Tráfico, which is kind of that bend but don't break kind of defense, they were also not doing the same tactics with the way that they can, of course, hit LAFC on the counterattack and really quite kind of threaten them. Although, in the 32nd minute, we almost saw kind of a repeat of what happened in the last El Tráfico, when the Galaxy, just out of nowhere, able to score a goal to take the lead. And would you believe that it would be Zubak, again, the one that almost scored the surprising goal for the Galaxy to make it 1-0, but this time he wasn't able to put away his chances, and hence this time the Galaxy wasn't able to score a goal against the run of plays, and the game remains 0-0. And that was really the only good chance that the Galaxy had throughout the first half, because after that chance, LAFC was back to their dominant force, and that BWP was very unlucky to not score the opening goal, as he was able to chip Bingham, but unfortunately that one hits the post, and we head to halftime at 0-0 in this El Tráfico. Now, in the second half, once again, LAFC looked like they were trying to get the opening goal, but then in the 52nd minute, Pavón would score from Insua to give a 1-0 lead in favor of the Galaxy, and for the second El Tráfico in a row, it's a defensive well, not a defensive mistake, but more like a goalkeeping mistake for LAFC is the reason why they conceded this goal. And this was right around kind of the same time when in the last El Tráfico, Vermeer basically came off his lines way too early, and that the Galaxy was able to put away that second goal. Only this time, Cesiaga, I have no idea what he was thinking to try to come out of his lines and maybe trying to cut the angle away from Pavón. And that Pavón, great heads-up play for him, knowing the fact that he saw the goalkeeper come off his line for no reason whatsoever, and he basically said, well, thank you very much for leaving your goal wide open, because I'm just going to dink this one over your head, and puts it into the back of the net to give my team a 1-0 lead. Then, just 60 seconds after the Galaxy took the 1-0 lead, Marc-Anthony Kaye just completely lost it in this play, as he basically did a shoulder charge on Araujo, and in a span of 60 seconds, this game completely turned on its head, and that this 60 second was really the turning point in this El Tráfico, because for the rest of this game, the Galaxy would be the one that were the more dominant side, and that Cesiaga had to make a couple of saves to keep this one at 1-0. First, he had to deny Leggett in the 65th minute before robbing Pavón a chance to get the second goal for the Galaxy. But unlike how the Galaxy and Bingham was able to hold firm to trying to not go down a goal or concede a goal in this game, LAFC just could not do that in this game, because 2 minutes later, Leggett would score from Pavón to give the Galaxy a 2-0 lead before Leggett would score a goal of the week candidate, scissor kick from Felcher and Alvarez, and just like that, the Galaxy were up 3-0, and that would be the final score of this El Tráfico, as the Galaxy have now won 4 games in a row after this big victory against their hated in-city rival, and that the shots in this game, 8 shots compared to 17 that LAFC had, 5 shots on goal compared to 7 that LAFC had, 3 shots off target compared to 7 that LAFC had, no shots that was blocked compared to 3 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 42% possession compared to 58% possession. And, for LAFC, once again, individual mistake would ultimately come back to haunt them in this game, with the goalkeeping howler, and also Marc-Anthony Kaye just completely lost the plot for a second in this game to get himself sent off. And also, forgot to mention, that was the first ever sending off in El Tráfico, and that would really be the difference in this game. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all 8 of these games that happened on Sunday. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.